Welcome to TV Africa News. Thank you so much for joining us and being part of us always. This is Africa Today. My name is Nahabe Kajur, but first, on the headlines. Rebels of Uganda Homeland Liberation Force appear before General Court Martial. And security forces fire tear gas at protesters against post-coup deal. Benin's band of teenage girls fights for women and children's rights. In our sports today, Bogere replaces Sali as Abudu head coach. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, and we start with one of our top stories. Now, 61 people said to have been part of a group that attacked Kalambo military detach in Zombo district have been arraigned before the court-martial at Machindi and charged with the murder of 6 UPDF officers. We have more on this report.
The suspects, some of whom have spent more than a year on remand at Chitale Government Prison, having been charged and remanded there by the 4th Division Court-Martial in Gulu District, are believed to have carried out the attacks between March 2020 and July 2021. During the said attacks, CPL Godfrey Ola, Private Solomon Oyuthu, Private Bosco Okol, Warrant Officer Patrick Odongotho, and less CPL Godfrey Timber lost their lives while many huts and ammunition were burnt down. Following the attacks, security agencies started hunting for the suspects, who comprise of UPDF officers and civilians whom they picked from various places such as Pakwach, Zombo and Arua districts. However, preliminary investigations showed that the suspects were organized under a group called Uganda Homeland Liberation Force, allegedly led by a one called Athocon, who is the former Air Force commander in Uganda Army. Investigations further show that the motive of the suspects was to overthrow the government of Uganda, and when interrogated, they reportedly indicated that their plan was to attack vulnerable areas such as Zombo Police Station and resident district commissioners' residence to secure guns for their mission. The group yesterday formally denied the 7 counts before the General Court-Martial, chaired by Lieutenant General Andrew Guti.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Moving on, Uganda will on 2nd December 2021 hold a virtual youth conversion-themed entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, emerging critical skills for the 21st century youth, now hosted by the First Lady Janet Kataha Museveni. The conversion being a collective effort by Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity and Uganda Youth Forum will oversee sensitizing and equipping the youth in areas of entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship. Our reporter Kachanchu has more.
Speaking to the media at the Uganda Media Center, Mr. John Osapiri, the Chief Executive Officer, Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity, said that the conference will bring together distinguished speakers to mentor and equip the youth on entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship as a matter of addressing issues of unemployment, where Uganda has got one of the world's youngest population, about 78% under the age of 30 unemployed, posing challenges of high dependency, violence and crime. The Inspector General of Government and also a board member of the Uganda Lawyers Fraternity, Dr. Achan Patricia, said that as legal practitioners, it's their obligation to inculcate principles and values to ensure that the youth grow up with morals and engage into the fight against corruption.
This is a wonderful opportunity for us to demonstrate partnership and strategic alliance with the press again in this cause. Uganda Christian Lawyers Fraternity is an association of Christian legal practitioners, like the CEO ably explained. We do legal aid, we work to ensure that there are values among the youth. We want to inculcate principles and values to ensure that the youth grow up with morals, the youth grow up as God-fearing people, the youth contribute to the fight against corruption. Now that I'm the Deputy IGG, I believe that if our youth come up with skills, comes up with values and are creative, then they will be able to even put aside the issues of corruption and be responsible and contribute towards the good of this country by monitoring the government projects, monitoring the activities, monitoring the development activities taking place around, and being able to point out areas which need improvement.
Dr. Patricia said that she believed the youth can develop skills of creativity so they can contribute to the good of the country. Due to the COVID-19 situation, the convention will be conducted under strict observance of...
Uganda has one of the youngest populations in the world, with about 78% under the age of 30, something that poses a challenge in terms of unemployment, high dependency, violence and crime. However, we can leverage on this potential for development. This can be done through intentional human capital development, done through skilling, retooling, attitude and mindset change, and promoting education that touches the head, the heart, and the hands. This convention, therefore, presents us with the opportunity to harness but also channel the abilities for our youth for economic development. Therefore, as non-government organizations, we call upon the youth from every part of the country to attend this convention online. We are certain that as youth, we shall be mentored and inspired to pursue our dreams and life aspirations through this event. We implore parents and caregivers to give their children to attend this online event. Together we can build a nation that we desire.
With the standard operating procedures, where a limited number of participants will physically attend and the other youth are encouraged to join via online platforms. TV Africa News, Kachanchu Mtabazi reporting.
Well, thank you so much, our reporter. We take a quick break. We shall come back with the international news. Welcome back from the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In our international news, Sudanese security forces fired tear gas on Tuesday at protesters rallying against last month's military takeover and a deal that saw the Prime Minister reinstated after his ouster in the coup, according to witnesses. Now, thousands of demonstrators gathered in central Khartoum and marched on the presidential palace when security forces fired tear gas to disperse them. We have more on this report.
The Sudanese Professionals Association, an umbrella of unions which called for Tuesday's protest, accused Hamdok and Burhan of seeking to reproduce the former regime of President Omar al-Bashir, who was ousted in April 2019 following mass protests. Hamdok, who has been prime minister in the transitional government since the ouster of long-time autocrat ruler Bashir, has defended the deal which was signed on November 21st. He has told local media he had partnered with the military to stop the bloodshed and not to squander the gains of the last 2 years. The Burhan-Hamdok agreement was welcomed by the United Nations African Union, Western countries as well as Arab powerhouses Saudi Arabia and Egypt, which have strong ties with the Sudanese military. Sudan's top general Abdel Fattah al-Burhan seized power and denied Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok on October 25th, but after international condemnation and mass protests, he reinstated the premier in a deal they signed last week. Critics lambasted the agreement as whitewashing and accused Hamdok of betrayal as pro-democracy activists vowed to maintain pressure on the military-civilian authority. At least 43 people have been killed in anti-coup protests since last month, according to medics. Doctors have accused security forces of using live rounds, but police deny the allegations, saying it only used minimum force to disperse protests.
Thank you so much, our reporter. Now, moving on, Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed on Tuesday urged Tigrayan rebels to surrender, claiming government forces were nearing victory just 1 week after he vowed to lead military operations at the front. We have more.
Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, winner of the 2019 Nobel Peace Prize, said in comments aired on state media that the youth of Tigray is perishing like leaves, knowing it is defeated and is being led by one who does not have a clear vision or plan. Abiy called upon the rebels to surrender today to the Ethiopian National Defense Force, to the special forces, to militias and to the people. Tuesday's footage was the latest in a series of clips showing Abiy in uniform with soldiers in what appeared to be the northeastern region of Afar. The area has been the site of fierce fighting in recent weeks as the Tigray People's Liberation Front rebel group tries to seize control of a critical highway that supplies the capital Addis Ababa. On Sunday, state media claimed the army controlled the lowland Afar town of Chifra, and Abiy said on Tuesday that such gains would be replicated to the west in the Amhara region. The announcement last week that Abiy, a former lieutenant colonel in the military, came after the TPLF claimed to control Shirobit, a town just 220 kilometers northeast of Addis Ababa by road. Fears of a rebel march on the capital have prompted the United States, France, the United Kingdom and other countries to urge their citizens to leave Ethiopia as soon as possible, though Abiy's government says TPLF gains are overstated and the city is secure.
Moving on, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, prevalence of HIV is low compared to other countries on the continent, but the pandemic has had an effect in the provision of care. Now, one HIV patient spoke to a reporter about his experience.
Jean-Louis Toye-Kopena, an HIV patient in the Democratic Republic of Congo, said that before they used to have food rations, but that doesn't exist anymore, adding that medical care, the financing in the HIV sector no longer exists. Jean-Louis said that the coronavirus or Ebola eclipsed the HIV and asked for more funding of the HIV sector to be really consistent, otherwise people will die. A recent report by the United Nations suggested that COVID-19 lockdowns and other restrictions have badly disrupted HIV testing around the world. In Africa, this has led to significant drops in HIV diagnosis, referrals to care services, and HIV treatments. Munsana Gashinge, regional coordinator of the HIV/AIDS national program, said that in terms of supply, they depend a lot on medicines coming from abroad and need to advocate so that they don't have a break in terms of supply. He added that as per the funding, with the arrival of COVID-19 and Ebola, the funding tends to be down, therefore there is no need to continue the advocacy with their partners to increase funding and not abandon HIV. According to the United Nations AIDS Organization, in 2019, 4.1 million people in West and Central Africa were living with HIV.
Well, thank you so much, reporter. Moving on, it's a beautiful story and a breath of fresh air born from imagination of a music teacher in the city of Natitigu in the northeastern of Benin. The idea of the multi-instrumentalist Andre Balagumam was to launch a music school only to young girls. Now the group is made of only 7 girls aged between 11 to 18. We have more on this report. This project has quickly crossed borders and continents. The feminine star band is currently touring Europe and is already preparing its second album at the prestigious French label Bon Bad Records, founded by Jean-Baptiste Goulot. Jean-Baptiste, founder of Bon Band Records, say that groups of instrumentalist girls in Africa are extremely rare and are confined to the role of backing singers and dancers. He added that to come across a group of girls like that, who all played and excelled in their instrument, is completely difficult and deemed impossible. Marguerite, Julian, Benny, Sandrine, Anne, Euris and Grace survive only on music. They all play several instruments, dance and sing in Bariba, in French. Their music breathes freedom and carries strong messages. Sandrine, a singer and percussionist, say that they want to travel to the world to show them that women have rights that must be respected and that they must really love them and help them to become great personalities. Euris, a singer and a percussionist, say that they also want to defend the right of children because they are not an object with which they can do what they want, adding that they are there to defend the right of the woman, the right of the child, and are going to go till the end with these two themes. They hope their mission will be possible in the future where the rights of women and children will be respected. The feminine star band has impressed different crowds during their first European concerts. They brought a wind of freedom and placed their worries behind them. Thank you so much, Harry Potter. We take a quick break. We shall come back with the business news. Welcome back for the break. You're still watching TV Africa, the right to know. In a business news today, investors have been urged to take advantage of Africa's arable land to drive sustainable agriculture and increase food production. Now, this was amongst the conclusions of business leaders and policymakers at the 4th edition of the EU-Africa Business Summit in Marrakech, held to promote business and policy initiatives between both continents.
Chiza Charles Chiumia, the acting director of the Directorate of Industry, Mining and Entrepreneurship at the African Union Commission while at the summit, said that this is the time for partners from all over the world to come and invest in the continent. He added that they have the freedom to establish under the African Continental Free Trade Area in any of their preference, and wherever they are established, they are saying that their market is a whole continent. Dr. Patrick Nzana Olomo, the Head Investment and Mobilization of Resources, African Union Department of Economic Affairs, said that they have, for instance, CADEP, the CADEP framework, which is prompting agriculture in Africa, together with the Malabo Declaration that was aiming at accelerating progress towards agricultural transformation. 23% of sub-Saharan Africa's GDP stems from agriculture, according to the World Bank. At the European Union Africa Business Summit, it was also agreed that the EU-Africa trade partnership in the sector must now focus on smallholder farmers. This was the position of former EU Commissioner for Agriculture, Phil Hogan. The EU is one of Africa's largest trade and investment partner. Its foreign direct investment stock in Africa in 2020 was at 222 billion euros, compared to 42 billion from US and 38 from China. Organizers of the summit, the EBS Group, say their aim is to shape the common future of both continents by bringing influential business leaders, policymakers, and experts together. They added that the EU-African partnership needs to deliver a genuine partnership with policy objectives, standards, and rules that are in the interest of both continents, particularly after the interruption due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
Bagari.
Away from business, in Africa Today Health, airline passengers who tried to leave South Africa on Monday were left stranded at the airport due to the travel bans that were announced by countries around the world last week, affecting the region following the emergency of a new coronavirus strain, Omicron. According to some passengers, described the situation as a nightmare. Ronald Magwala, traveler from the UK, lamented that this is frustrating because it was a short holiday and then it turned out to be a nightmare. Edward Bering, a traveler from the United Kingdom, narrated that he flew in on Tuesday to Johannesburg from the UK and got stuck because the bans came in Thursday and Friday. Edward Bering said that there are several thousand Europeans trying to get home via the only routes available, which are Kenya and Ethiopia, adding if someone wants to avoid hotel quarantine, they need to stop there for 10 days, or for 10 days if they are going back to Dubai, which is a total mess for everyone. Cindy McKinney, visiting South Africa from the New York, was amongst those trying to find alternative routes to fly back home. Her initial flight was scheduled to pass through Amsterdam, where flights from South Africa have been banned. UK citizen Edward Bering, who is 48, said he was returning home but would go through Kenya to avoid a hotel quarantine in the UK. At the airport, travelers are expected to pay up to 1,500 rand, which is equivalent to $92 for a PCR test for a results may be available in 2 hours. The World Health Organization called on the international community to avoid imposing travel restrictions on southern African countries in response to the Omicron variant of the COVID-19 virus. In our sports news today, management of Budusaza football team named former Uganda Cranes international Steve Bogere as head coach of the 2021 Masaza Cup tournament. Our reporter has more.
Budu's new head coach Stephen Bogere will work alongside Andy Sally, who has been relegated to assistant coach status. Stephen Bogere takes over with immediate effect barely 24 hours before the team's first game in Muganzirwaza Group against Butambala on Wednesday 1st December at the Federation for Uganda Football Association's Technical Center, Njeru. The former Sports Club Villa and Uganda People's Defence Forces head coach will work alongside another former Uganda Cranes player, Andy Sally. Sally had earlier been named as head coach after taking over from Michael Skills Luchamuzi, who guided the team to second place last season. Budu is pulled in Muganzirwaza Group alongside Busuju, Mawogola, Buwekula and Butambala.
Well, thank you so much for being a loyal audience from where we started from. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We shall keep updating you. It is TV Africa, the right to know.